Something is happening to millions of people over 75, and almost nobody is talking about it. Not because it's rare, because it's quiet. It doesn't show up on a lab report. It doesn't trigger an alarm at a checkup. It shows up years later when someone realizes they can't drive to the store anymore, can't remember the plan they made 5 minutes ago, or can't get through dinner without losing the thread of the conversation. By then, everyone calls it just aging. It isn't. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Two people can walk into the same doctor's office at the same age, with the same blood pressure, the same cholesterol, the same normal chart, and still be living in two completely different realities 5 years later. One of them is still sharp, still active, still making their own decisions. The other has quietly lost their independence. Not from one dramatic event, but from a slow leak nobody ever pointed out. The difference almost never comes down to medication. It comes down to 6 specific, measurable habits. Right now, fewer than 1 in 8 adults over 75 actually keeps all 6. If you're one of them, science can now say with real confidence that you are the exception, not the rule. Before we get into it, stick around for the 6th one. It's the habit almost nobody thinks belongs on a health list at all, and researchers are now calling it one of the strongest predictors of independence they've ever measured. If you skip ahead, you'll miss the one that matters most. Let's start at the bottom of the list and work our way up. Number 6 is how you actually walk, not just whether you walk. Most people over 75 get some form of daily movement, from the bedroom to the kitchen, from the car to the store, and assume that counts as exercise. It doesn't. That kind of movement keeps your body functioning day to day, but it does almost nothing for your arteries. After 70, the walls of your arteries stiffen faster than at any earlier point in life. That stiffening forces your heart to work harder with every single beat, which raises blood pressure and, over years, quietly reduces blood flow to the brain. The fix isn't complicated, but it does need to be intentional. Research following large groups of older adults has found that sustained aerobic walking, meaning a pace that raises your heart rate to somewhere between half and 2/3 of its maximum, doesn't just slow arterial stiffening down. It can actually reverse some of it. Picture a garden hose that's been sitting in the sun for years. It loses its flexibility and pressure builds inside it until something gives at the fittings. Regular, purposeful walking is what puts the flexibility back. The target is 20 to 30 minutes, 5 days a week, at a pace where you could speak in full sentences but wouldn't want to try singing. And timing matters more than people realize. Walking earlier in the day appears to lower blood pressure for a full 24 hours in a way that afternoon or evening walks simply don't replicate. This single change, done consistently, has been linked to blood pressure drops large enough to feel like getting years of your life back. Number 5 is how seriously you protect your sleep. After 75, poor sleep isn't just tiredness. It's a slow-motion cardiovascular event that repeats every single night. As you age, the deepest stage of sleep, the one responsible for repairing your arteries, calming inflammation, and clearing waste out of your brain, can drop by as much as 80% compared to your 30s. When that stage disappears, your brain's overnight cleaning cycle runs incomplete, night after night, year after year. Researchers have found that older adults with consistently disrupted sleep build up significantly more of the plaque associated with Alzheimer's disease. And the heart pays a price too. Fragmented sleep eliminates something called nocturnal dipping, the natural nighttime drop in blood pressure that cardiologists consider one of the strongest signs of long-term heart health. Lose that dip consistently, and the damage accumulates almost exactly as if you were hypertensive all day long. The people who protect their independence treat sleep like a non-negotiable schedule, the same bedtime within half an hour every night, the same wake-up time every single morning, including weekends, a cool bedroom, and no screens for the final hour before bed. That last one matters more than most people think. Mental stimulation right before sleep has been shown to delay sleep onset by close to 50 minutes in older adults. One free trick that actually works: 10 minutes of slow, deliberate breathing before bed, 4 counts in, 6 counts out, which has been shown to meaningfully lower nighttime stress hormones and increase the amount of deep sleep you get. Number 4 is how you eat protein, and this is where a lot of well-meaning advice has actually done harm. There's a common belief that you need less protein as you get older. That belief may be one of the most damaging pieces of nutrition folklore still circulating. In reality, after 75, your body needs significantly more dietary protein per pound of body weight than a healthy 30-year-old, because aging muscle becomes harder to activate, a phenomenon researchers call anabolic resistance. Your muscles aren't lazy, they're just harder to reach with the same signal. Left unaddressed, this leads to progressive muscle loss, which has been linked to a dramatically higher risk of falls and a much higher likelihood of losing basic daily function within 5 years. Large nutrition studies following people between 70 and 85 found that those who ate a specific amount of protein, spread across 3 meals a day rather than loaded into one, had far lower rates of fall-related hospitalization and noticeably stronger immune responses. The practical version of this: aim for a solid portion of protein at each of your 3 main meals, a palm-sized serving of chicken, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, or legumes, rather than saving it all for dinner, because aging muscles can only make use of so much protein in a single sitting. Pairing that protein with a source of vitamin C, citrus, bell peppers, a splash of lemon juice, helps your body use it to maintain the connective tissue and blood vessel strength that keep you resilient. Number 3 might be the one you least expect to see on a list like this: staying in at least one genuine, active social connection every day. It sounds more emotional than medical, but the data behind it is not soft at all. Large-scale research tracking hundreds of thousands of adults has found that chronic social isolation carries a mortality risk comparable to smoking more than a pack of cigarettes a day. Separate research has linked loneliness in older adults to a dramatically faster rate of cognitive decline, a higher risk of dementia, and elevated levels of inflammatory markers that directly damage cardiovascular tissue. Genuine social interaction triggers the release of oxytocin, lowers stress hormones, reduces inflammation, and keeps the neural pathways tied to memory and identity active. Those pathways work like a muscle. When they go quiet for weeks, they start to weaken, and after 75, they become much harder to rebuild. This doesn't mean simply being around people. Passive presence, sitting near others without real engagement, doesn't count. It has to be active. A real phone call, a group you're part of, a walk with someone, a meal with someone who makes you actually think and respond. Combine that social interaction with light movement, a walk and talk instead of a sit-down chat. And research suggests the brain benefit is even greater than either one alone. Number 2 is something almost nobody over 75 actually does consistently: monitoring blood pressure at home with real precision. Most people managing blood pressure see their numbers only a couple of times a year, get a quick read from a doctor, and go another 6 months without checking again. The problem is that blood pressure isn't a fixed number. It shifts by time of day, stress, sleep, sodium intake, and even how recently you had coffee. One of the largest blood pressure trials ever conducted, following more than 9,000 adults, found that treating to a lower systolic target reduced major cardiovascular events by roughly a quarter and lowered overall mortality by a similar margin. But hitting that target requires actually knowing your numbers throughout the day, not relying on a single office reading, which is often inflated by the stress of simply being at a doctor's appointment. The habit that protects independence is treating a home blood pressure cuff the way someone with diabetes treats a glucose monitor. Same time each morning, 5 minutes of seated rest first, cuff at heart level, and the number logged every single day so patterns become visible over time. One detail that trips people up constantly: caffeine can raise systolic blood pressure noticeably within half an hour, so the habit is simple: read first, coffee second. And now, the one I told you to wait for. Number 1, the habit fewer than 1 in 8 adults over 75 keeps consistently, and the one researchers have started calling one of the most underused tools for staying independent that doesn't require a prescription. It isn't crossword puzzles. It isn't passive reading. It's the daily practice of learning something genuinely new. A skill, a language, an instrument, something hard enough to make your brain uncomfortable. After 75, the brain naturally leans on familiar, well-worn pathways to conserve energy. That instinct feels efficient, but it quietly drains what researchers call cognitive reserve, your brain's buffer against age-related decline. Think of it like extra memory in a computer. The more reserve you have, the more damage the system can absorb before you notice any symptoms. And here's the connection almost nobody makes. The same factors that damage the heart, high blood pressure, stiff arteries, poor nighttime blood pressure dipping, also reduce blood flow to the brain and accelerate cognitive decline. Protecting your brain and protecting your heart are not two separate projects. They're the same project. Long-term studies following more than 1,000 adults into their late 80s found that those who engaged in genuinely new cognitive activity for at least half an hour a day showed dramatically slower brain shrinkage on imaging and were far less likely to receive a dementia diagnosis. Learning a new language alone has been associated with delaying the onset of dementia by several years. Learning an instrument goes even further, engaging motor control, hearing, memory, and emotion all at once. The key word is active. Watching a tutorial isn't learning. Struggling through it with your own hands is where the benefit actually lives. The discomfort isn't the obstacle. The discomfort is the medicine. One detail worth adding, pairing this daily challenge with a source of DHA found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines appears to help the brain make even better use of whatever new skill you're working on. So here's where this leaves you. None of these 6 habits are about turning back the clock. None of them require some rare breakthrough or an expensive intervention. They're about protecting what's already there. Your ability to drive yourself where you need to go, remember the things that matter to you, cook the meal your family shows up for, laugh until your eyes water at something someone said, and keep making your own decisions instead of having them made for you. That is what independence actually looks like at 75, at 80, at 85. And the research is very clear on one point. It is never too late to start building these habits, no matter where you're starting from today. If even one of these habits caught you off guard, that's worth sitting with for a second. Which one are you already doing well? Which one do you need to start tomorrow? Think about it, because the version of you 5 years from now is being decided by which of these 6 you choose to act on today.